We do have Councillor Stellinger joining us online this afternoon. Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. And for the benefit of those who may be observing online, we have Councillor Morgan and Councillor Edwards in the room. Councillor Morgan, would you be so kind to lead us through the opening karakia, please?
Thank you. Kia ora koutou katoa. Please join with me. Whakatakata hau ki te uru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hiaki ana te ata kura, he tio, he hoka, he hohu, ti hei, mauri ora.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Appreciate that. We do have apologies today from Mayor Barry and Councillor Briggs. I will move the motion that the apologies be received from Mayor Barry and Councillor Briggs. They be accepted and leave of absence be granted. May I have a second, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. There is no public comment for today's meeting, so I'll go straight to requesting any members of the committee to declare any conflicts of interest they may have concerning today's agenda. Nothing to declare. Thank you, everybody. We will move on then to item 5, which is on page 10 of the agenda pack, and I'd like to ask Paul and David to speak to the item, which is the Tupua Horo Nuku update, a regular update to this committee. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Please take your report as read and just highlight any key matters you'd like to bring to our attention or anything that may have changed since you wrote it. Thank you.
Thank you. One key element, I suppose, to highlight is that we finally got the three-lane strategy approved. Also, there have been some very good feedback from the Eastbourne Community Board about it and about the project overall. Apart from that, nothing really to add to the report.
Thank you, gentlemen. Members of the committee, are there any questions? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, not disputing for a second the need for us to do the 3 bays. We absolutely have to finish earlier at the same time as Te Ara Tupua. But in paragraph 13, it talks about extending or increasing the allowable trip threshold beyond the previous 5-minute limit. I was keen for a bit of guidance on how much where the delays are going beyond 5 minutes. And while you're answering that, a little bit of detail on whether that early morning peak period that's so key to people making that trip is also a busy time for the workmen. Like, it would be pretty bad if people are being held up, go past a work site and there's hardly any workmen on there. I know there's an issue with having to lay out the traffic management stuff, but yeah, a little bit of extra detail.
Thank you, Councillor. Yep, so the extent on the extended that time threshold is from 5 minutes to 6 minutes. So the cumulative time savings is better. However, the short kind of duration in the short term is a bit longer. But yeah, those points have been brought up and have been part of the assessment into the 3-lane strategy.
So just further on to that as well, that 6 minutes is the maximum allowable. The actual averages are well below that at this point in time. So that's just the point that 6 minutes is the point that consenting start counting. We are keeping the delays below that.
Thanks. Is that early morning peak a busy time for the workers on site?
Thanks. Yes, it is a busy time, but all the reports that we've had back since the 4th of August, since it's been in place, there's been no exceedances over that 6 minute time.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Morgan.
Kia ora. I've just had some residents raise concern about the power pole placements, and I'm just wondering, is that in our jurisdiction or not at all to do anything?
With respect to the power poles, that is a piece of work that has been undertaken jointly by Wellington Electricity and through the Alliance. With respect to the, like this is Mahina Bay and the locations there, that is being worked through by the Alliance at the moment with the residents. That's a piece that's in action.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Thank you, gentlemen. Councillor Stellinger, go ahead, please.
It's great to see the progress on the project. Been around there a bit lately myself, and it's looking fantastic. Just wanted to get a little bit more information on the progress. We've got notes on the progress with the budget being spent. Does that line up pretty much with the progress on the works proper? And are we still expecting to come in with within the overall budget for the project that we have provided for?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so the time frame for the physical works is for completion towards the back end of March of next year. And yeah, also completion, given you a percentage of spend, the physical works would be similar to that. We're reaching a peak shortly in terms of men on site and the actual the rate of work, but that will taper off towards as we move in through February, March next year.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. Councillor Edwards, back to you.
Yes, could I ask a follow-up question to the question that Councillor Morgan asked, because I'm actually seeing one of those residents at a meeting tomorrow morning, and to ask that resident has said that in all the other places where there are these structures, they've been undergrounded, except at one place where there's now apparently two big transformer things on top of a pole. And my question is, whose call was it, or is it, to decide whether undergrounding happened or you know, I hear that the Alliance is dealing with it, but was it at the direction of Hutt City Council? No, we got no more money, you're going to have to find another solution, or yeah?
No, thank you, Councillor. The undergrounding of the power lines was a consideration right at the start of the project, and through the consenting process in 2022 or earlier, through the consenting, it was decided not to go ahead with any undergrounding of the overhead lines as part of the project. They would be upgraded as overhead lines. That was a decision, yeah, back at the start through the consenting process, and is documented in the Alliance documentation.
Thank you. And just very quickly, so the resident is wrong. Dealing with power lines and other parts of that project along there have not been undergrounded.
Go ahead, John. Thank
you, Madam Chair. So there was a whole lot of discussions back then with Wellington Electricity around whether they should be put underground or above ground. From memory, it's just going back a few years, but from memory, the advice was that it's quite a complicated place, and they didn't have, because we do have to take their advice on these things, that there wasn't the ability for them to do that within the program timeframe. And as things, we were still kind of hopeful it could happen early on in the program, but as things progressed, there was no capability or capacity with Wellington Electricity to even look at that within the timeframes for the program. So we had to carry on, and we certainly didn't have the funding to progress and do it ourselves.
Thank you, John. Councillor Edwards, if I can just add to that, my understanding is that the final decision usually rests with the prevailing electricity authority, because they have the final approval responsibility and sign out on their network. Thank you. So no further questions. Thank you, gentlemen. I will move to the motion, and that is the Subcommittee 1 receives and notes the information. 2, notes the approved 3-lane closure strategy is expected to mitigate financial risk from an extended timeline and avoid cost escalations beyond the approved budget through reducing the project duration by 26 weeks, bringing the forecast completion date forward to March 2026, and aligning delivery with the Oranga Ki Pito 1 program. And 3, notes that modelling indicates the revised approach will minimise the risk of additional preliminary and general costs by aligning delivery with the Oranga Ki Pito 1 and reduce cumulative public delays despite a slight increase in peak hour trip delays. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Is there any discussion, members of the committee? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you. That takes us to item 6, which is the insurance renewal update on page 15 of the pack. And Darren is here to speak to the report. We also do have Annie from Aon here who is able to step forward and answer any questions that might pertain to Aon. Darren, please take your report as read and just highlight any key points or add any updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the only thing I'd like to just highlight is that we did successfully renew the insurance policies for our property and infrastructure program on the 1st of May 25 for a 12-month term. During that process, we did manage to negotiate reduced rates. However, due to the significant increase in the infrastructure valuations, that had a flow-on effect to the premium, so that more than offset the savings. The expected costs for the 25-26 year is expected to be around 5.8 million. And we also successfully renewed the policies back on the 1st of November for the remaining policies. And the details of those policies are now set out in Appendix 1 and 2 of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. And just members of the committee, I asked for the additional detail in Appendices 1 and 2 to be added to this report, so it was very clear to everybody the level of cover, any condition on that, and also the deductible, which is your, in common language, that's the excess to your premium. So I asked that to be added, so thank you for doing that. Darren, members of the committee, are there any questions? Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, just a very quick one, unless I'm misunderstanding something. In paragraph 9, it talks about a cost decrease when I think we're looking at a cost increase. But my question relates to the paragraph, very brief paragraph that says our roading infrastructure assets are not covered by insurance, and understandable because we can't afford or can barely afford what we are insuring. But I wanted to know, is that standard procedure for most councils around New Zealand that roading infrastructure is not insured?
Yes, I do understand that is the case, that most councils don't insure roading assets. And for the matters you raised, it is very expensive, so cost prohibitive. Plus, we would anticipate that any major roading damage would be partly offset by NZTA funding for critical assets. So that's the main reasons why we don't insure.
And when we talk about roading infrastructure, we'd probably be talking about bridges as well, including the new bridge that we'll be building to Melling?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Thank you, Darren. Any additional questions? Councillor Edwards, I can confirm Darren's response. That is the position that most councils take. And also other central government agencies who may have assets. Some are able to insure some assets, but not all. And it also depends where the asset actually is and whether it is located in an area that is high risk. Thank you. No further questions. I will then move the motion, and that is that the Subcommittee 1 notes that Council has successfully renewed its property and infrastructure insurance program for policies commencing 1 May 2025 for a 12-month term. 2 notes the remaining policies renewed on 1 November 2024 for a 12-month term. 3 notes the insurance renewal information is outlined in paragraphs 10 and 11 of the report. And 4 notes that insurance costs for 2025-26 are budgeted to be $5.8 million. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Is there any discussion, members of the committee? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Say no. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren. That takes us to item 7, which is the Human Resource Information Management and Payroll System Project, and also the Holidays Act Remediation Project update, which is on page 24 of the pack. And we have Megan and Alicia here today to speak to the item and answer your questions. So please Megan and Alicia, please do take your report as read and just highlight any key points or any changes since it was written, please.
Yep.
Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. I'll handle the project part of it, and Alicia can look at the Holidays Act remediation part of it. So very exciting. We've got we've signed contracts with for our HRS product and DataPay for our payroll product. So we're working with our partners Datacom on those. We have just, and this is an update from what's in the report, just finished phase, which is some of the initial information gathering we can gather into a full implementation plan. So we've received for the HRS side of it, and we're just waiting for the payroll side of it so we can confirm our dates. Just the two things to note in the risks that have changed. The Holidays Act compliance, we have rolled up into a quality of data risk just to ensure that you'll see in there that we did manage to get in a clause in the statement of work around holiday compliance for our payroll provider. It does say that you need to make sure that your data is compliant as well. So that we'll change that risk and then put in the one around resource constraints. It's a lot of work and it is a big project. So we are filling staff to mitigate that risk, but there is a big drain on our staff. Yeah, I'll hand over to Alicia.
Kia ora everyone. Working alongside the system implementation project is our Holidays Act remediation.
Sorry, could you just check that your mic is on, please?
Yeah, is that? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Sorry, alongside the implementation project is our Holidays Act remediation. In July 2022, we remediated current staff up to March 2022. That was phase one of the project. And in this past July, we have remediated current staff up to February 2025. And our plan is alongside the planning for the system implementation project that we will complete a phase 3 and work alongside the project planning of the implementation plan to make the most and do that at the best time. And I think we will be reporting at the next time that we report on the project about what the key timeframes for that and when it's expected to happen. So yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Megan and Alicia. I'd just like to acknowledge, well done getting the compliance request that I made to you in the statement of work. Well done, because that is a pretty important thing. And also, yes, they're quite right, the risk then becomes the data compliance, because obviously we are responsible for our data. So thank you for doing that. Yes, these are big projects, so you're correct too to look at the risks surrounding resource constraints. So thank you for that. Are there any questions, Councillor Morgan?
I just had a quick one. This is fantastic work and a big piece of work, I'm sure. So yeah, really congratulate you on all of this. After phase 3, then it's a reset, I would imagine, right? So that moving forward, it's all the backlogs done, and the system is going to be robust to hopefully ease that amount of work for you to then do the job of the system by you just inputting the data. Would that be correct?
Yeah, the plan is in the clause that Megan was talking about in the statement of work around Holidays Act compliance is that the new system will be compliant and we will not need to do any further remediation outside of the system to keep us compliant with the Holidays Act.
Thank you. Just following up on your question, Councillor Morgan, that is compliant with the current Holidays Act legislation. If that legislation changes in the future, it will be incumbent, hence getting that request in the statement of works. It's incumbent and there'll be a warranty in your contract that makes that incumbent on the supplier of the software to make sure that it remains compliant. And that's the best you can do. Thank you. Any further questions, members of the committee? No, thank you. There's a long list of recommendations here, 10 of them, which are on pages 24 and 25. Would you like me to read them out, councillors, or are you quite happy to refer to them in the pack? Thank you. We'll refer to them in the pack. So I will move those recommendations. May I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Morgan. So I have a mover and a seconder. I'll just ask if there's any further questions or discussion. No, thank you. Great work, as we've said, so I'll put the motion moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye, against say no. Thank you. Thank you, see Councillor Stallinger's hand, so I declare the motion carried. Thank you. That takes us to item 8, the sensitive expenditure disclosures for the quarter, which are on page 30 of the agenda. And welcome back to Darren. Darren, usual piece here too. It's just please take the report as read. And again, I'll just remind members of the committee that before the agenda is published, I have usually had a very good look at these. And also, as you know, I approve anything coming from the mayoral office as it happens. So just with those two, Darren, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got nothing further to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee 1 receives and notes the information, and 2 notes the sensitive expenditure disclosure information attached as Appendix 1 to the report titled Sensitive Expenditure 1 April 2025 to 30 June 2025. May I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Edwards. I've now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye, against say no. Thank you, and I see Councillor Stallinger's hand, so I declare the motion is carried. We're not letting Darren run away. He's getting item 9 to speak to as well, which is on page 37. That's the Hutt City Council Group Annual Report for 2024-25 and the update on the external audit processes. So Darren, over to you.
Thank you again. So I think the key points with this report is that the interim review was completed on the 30th of June 25. No significant matters were raised at that point, and hence there's been no management letter issued by the auditors to date, which is a great result. The final review with the auditors on site began on the 18th of August. So we're in week 2 and we've got another couple of weeks to go. That slightly differs from the table on page 10, so we're a bit ahead of that timetable now. So we're still working towards having council adopt the annual report on the 7th of October ahead of the elections. And to quickly touch on the CCO audits, are progressing well. All the field work has been completed and we're in the final stages of wrap up, and we're expecting those to be adopted by their respective boards early September. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren, and we did have a workshop on the draft report last week, which was good. Thank you very much. And also Councillor Stallinger made some helpful suggestions, which have been taken on board. So thank you for those, Councillor Stallinger. So I'll just ask members of the committee, do you have any questions? Councillor Stallinger, I see your hands up, so please go ahead.
Apologies, it's not really a question. I just wanted to congratulate the finance team, Darren and Jenny and the others, for getting through that interim audit with no points raised. I can't remember having ever achieved that myself or observed it in many other places. So, that's a sign that we're in very good hands with the team and the way they're looking after our controls and so on.
Thanks, Councillor Stallinger. You are correct. It's quite unusual to get through an interim audit with nothing being raised. So thank you. I'm sure the team appreciate that feedback. Also, just again, as I said in the workshop last week, I have a separate meeting, which is the usual practice too for the appointed auditor to have a one-on-one meeting with the audit committee chair, and can confirm that no issues raised. Obviously, there is the issue there that is affecting all councils across New Zealand, which is the continued uncertainty with some aspects of the Three Waters legislation. We're all having to deal with the same thing at the moment. So again, just confirm, thank you, Councillor Stallinger. Good work, Jenny, Darren and team. Are there any further questions or any comments? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the Subcommittee 1 receives and notes the update on the preparation of the Group Annual Report for 2024-25. 2 notes that the interim audit was completed by 30 June 2025. 3 notes that the final audited Group Annual Report for 2024-25 is expected to be available for Council adoption on 7 October 2025. 4 notes that statutory deadline for the adoption of the Group Annual Report 2024-25 is 31 October 2025. And 5 notes that the draft unaudited Group Annual Report 2024-25 will be considered by this subcommittee at its meeting on the 23rd of September 2025. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Any further discussion, members of the committee? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye, against say no. Thank you. I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren. That takes us to item 10, which is on page 42 of the agenda. And like Bruce is going to speak to the regular update we have on water services. Thank you, Bruce. So please take your report as read and just maybe update on anything that may have changed since it was written.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, there's two matters that are updated since this was written. Paragraph 5, all partner councils have now adopted the WSDP. And in terms of the Local Government Water Services Bill, paragraph 14, that had its third reading last Tuesday and is just waiting for royal assent now. That's all from me.
Thank you, Bruce. Just ask members of the committee, do you have any questions? Councillor Stellinger, please go ahead.
Yes, the water services transition draft financial projections, that's included in this discussion right now, isn't it? Unless I've lost track of my place. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct. That's correct,
Okay,
Bruce.
good. Yep. Well, thank you. It was very good and helpful to get these projections. I know we had some time ago, because I've seen a few numbers bandied around, and I must confess to have bandied a few around myself during conversations and so on. I did have one question, and it's concerning a graph or a table. Sorry, table 3 on page 63. Just looking at the projected differences in the rates revenue post transition to the water services entity. We get a lot of questions about this, so it's very helpful to have a table that shows what's possibly going to happen. I just had one question on it, and it concerns the reconciliation between this table and the graph that we have shown in various places, the annual report. Everybody, I think, got it with their rates notice, showing that 60% of our rates goes to water services over the remaining life of our long-term plan. This seems to show 40% each year, or roughly. I didn't check all the years, but is there explanation from that? Am I missing something out?
Jenny, you may be best to answer that question if you're able to.
Yeah, so basically what this graph is showing you on page 63, table, it's separating out the estimated revenue that's going to transfer over to the new entity. Basically there's some specific targeted rates and also general rates for stormwater. So this is purely looking at it from a rates perspective. I suppose the table you're referring to that goes out in the communication, I'm assuming that's the one with the picture that shows, how much for every $100 of rates, X amount is spent on water rates. I think that's what you're referring to.
That's correct.
Yep. So I suppose that's the overall picture when it looks at the capital program and the operational costs. We know that we are running deficits. We're not fully funding the full program with the last LTP. We're running a deficit for a number of years and then looking to balance our budgets over time. So, that's a part of the puzzle and complexity involved in this process. I suppose an important part of this assumption here is that these calculations are based off the table that's sitting on the page before around the assumes rates increase. And obviously there's still some way to go in terms of the new council looking at post-water reform, basically a reset of those rates levels as well. I'd expect that the rates increases are actually going to be likely to be moving down and be lower going forward. So I suppose this is just kind of an initial cut of what the data looks like and our projections look like. And, the paper basically talks to uncertainty about what that split will look like going forward. And, the new council will need to work through trade-offs and choices around that rates setting level. So those rates revenue numbers that you see on page 63 are, I think, the post water reform rates increases for Hutt City Council, I think, are very much open to change potentially in the future. And I expect also with the rates affordability issues that we've got, that there could well be pressure to try and reduce those and find further savings and find better efficiencies for Hutt City Council. Yeah, thank you.
So I think Councillor Stallinger from that, thank you, Jenny. The two, the graph that you're, or the chart you're referring to, and this particular table are not directly relatable, but also it is subject to a lot more work. This is based on what you know now, based on the current situation. Is that correct, Jenny? Yep, thank you. Councillor Stallinger, follow-up question?
Please. So if I kind of understood what our officer said, but just an example, if we look at year 2034, in the plan that we currently have, does that assume in that year only 195 million, well, I say only, but 195 million is of the rates is applied to water, and the 288 million is applied to everything else?
Yes, that's correct. It may be helpful if we maybe take this question offline and have a probably a detailed conversation about it, because it is complex.
Yeah. Just a final comment. It does seem to me, if these are the figures, then I struggle to see why we show 60% of our rates are going to water on that chart, that pictorial that everyone's seen, if these are the actual figures in our long-term plan.
Thank you, Councillor Stallinger. That is a fair point. Perhaps, Jenny, could you take that on notice? I think it would be beneficial for some detailed information to go to all councillors for that, if you could provide that through the usual email address, perhaps. And it may also be something, if you have a workshop, I'm not sure what committee you take most your detailed water analysis through, but maybe at that committee, if there's a meeting coming up, if you could have perhaps an agenda item on that to look at it in more detail. Thank you. Councillor Stallinger, are there any further questions? No. Thank you. Any questions, Councillor Edwards, Councillor Morgan? No. Thank you. I'll then move the motion, that is that the Subcommittee 1 notes the actions to date that Wellington Water Limited has undertaken to implement its Wellington Water Culture and Value for Money Improvement Plan. 2, notes the progress of the work on the Wellington Water Services Delivery Model and the Water Services Delivery Plan to meet legislative requirements of water reform. And 3, notes the latest financial projections post the water services transition to a new entity. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Is there any further discussion, members? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, say no. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. That takes us to item 11 on page 68, please, which is the 6-monthly update on health and safety performance. And Kelly is coming forward. Amelia Kelly, you're going to speak to this item. So thank you for the report. It is obviously an important one and very useful information. So please take that as read, and if there's anything that's changed or you wish to highlight, please do so, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you, Chair. There's nothing further to update on what has been included in the report. I think one of the things that I just wanted to recognise is that we have had quite a significant increase in the reporting of events since the last 6-monthly report, and that largely relates to reporting coming through from Te Nainai Pool, and that reporting is a lot of minor incidents involving members of the public. So, yeah, just wanted to recognise that because the increase is quite significant. But there's nothing coming through in terms of that reporting that is of concern to us.
Thank you, Kelly. And just clarification, people reporting things is actually a good thing. You want to know about it. It's when people are not reporting and there are issues that's a serious concern. So you are right that it is an increase, but it's an increase for a good reason. Thank you. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Kelly? No? Thank you. It's a very simple motion, which is that the subcommittee receives and notes the report. So I'll move that motion. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Stallinger, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye, against say no. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. That takes us to, we have two information items on our agenda, members. The first one is 12A, which is to comply with survey, which is the legal compliance report for the period 1 January 2025 to 30 June 2025 on page 73. Larkna, good afternoon. You're going to speak to the item, so please do take this as read, and if there's anything you wish to highlight, please do so.
Nothing to further add, Madam Chair. 17 non-compliances were recorded during this survey, all of which has an action plan. We're happy with that, and most of the non-compliances are ongoing long-term action plans, and work is continuing to resolve them. The remaining 6 non-compliances open in the system are monitored by staff and CLT until they're resolved. Other than that, Madam Chair, we're happy with the responsiveness of staff in completing the survey, and we can take this report as read.
Thank you, Larkna. And again, it's a little similar to the previous item. It's good that people, two things. One, people are actually responding to the survey, and two, they are reporting items, which is a good thing. So thank you. Members of the committee, are there any questions? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee 1 receives the information, 2 notes it out as the 17 non-compliances recording during the survey, 11 already resolved, 3 notes that 5 corrective actions remain, and 4 notes that the list of the 5 remaining unresolved corrective actions and the mitigations that are or will be put into place to address these can be reviewed in Appendix 1 attached to the report. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, say no. Thank you. Declare the motion carried. Thank you, Larkna. Takes us to the second information item, which is on page 77. It is the Audit and Risk Subcommittee Forward Program for 2025, and it has one item left on it, which is for our next meeting, which is, as we've discussed today, the annual report for 2024-2025. Obviously, a new cycle of meetings and agenda will be prepared in the next term for the next term of council. Members of the committee, are there any questions? No, thank you. I'll move the motion, and that is that the recommendation contained in the memorandum be endorsed. I have a seconder, please. Thanks, Councillor Edwards. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, please say no. Thank you. I see Councillor Stellinger's hand. I'll declare the motion is carried. Members of the committee, I've received no written questions or questions for this meeting, so I'm now going to take us to item 14, which is the exclusion of the public. Before I do that, I'll just ask if any member has any question with respect to that action. No, thank you. So I'll move the motion, and that is that the public excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely the Tipai Tokomori o Te Awa Kairangi, the Riverlink update. May I have a second, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this motion? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye. Against, say no. Thank you. I declare the motion carried, and I'll be the public part of the meeting of today closed at 2:38 p.m.